All right. Good evening, everybody. Sorry about the delay there. We had technical difficulties. It should be expected at this point because, of course, we're kind of known for that, aren't we? Welcome to Inside Vaping, your resource for vaping news. Our show airs live bi-weekly every other Tuesday night starting at 10 p.m. EST via YouTube live event and at theownpage.com/live. And my tank is empty. And because it is one of these little guys, the Goblin Mini, I have to fill it from the bottom, which is infuriating.
Damn it! Did you take your Volkswagen in to get fixed?
No. It's still broken. It's not actually broken. It's just that they're telling me that supposedly these emissions that it is putting out into the air are going to, blow a hole through the ozone layer and
so you're just going to kill everyone around you.
Yeah, basically, because I would like to get that additional 3 to 5 miles per gallon that VW cheating on their emissions test allowed me. But the good news is, if I want to sue, guess what? I've got half a dozen offers from different law firms to jump on board their class action lawsuits. Boy, that sounds kind of familiar, doesn't it?
It does. Bag of Dicks award to James Martin this week.
I am not joining one of those lawsuits, though. I've opted for VW's loyalty program where they give me a $500 gift card, Visa gift card, and a $500 credit for VW Shop, and also 3 years of roadside assistance. So that's great.
Which you'll probably need once they upload that new software.
I'm going to call them so they can check my tire pressure and just totally abuse it.
Get your money's worth.
Yeah, so we do have a guest tonight. Edward Wolff is joining us via audio tonight. You may know him as Tom Baker. That was his former pseudonym. He's not one to shy away from controversy, and he is going to be talking about the various problems inside of the Five Pawns lawsuit and how it may affect the entire industry. This discussion may cause some to reevaluate their assessment of recent lawsuits within this industry. And there's going to be time to ask questions from chat. So if you do have questions for Edward or for us, you can feel free to put those in chat. Also, another lawsuit has been filed against Cuttwood, and that happened, Edward, what was it? It was about a week or 10 days from the time that the Five Pawns lawsuit was filed?
Correct. I saw it on Monday.
So that's going to be touched on also. Obviously, when we did this show a couple weeks ago, we were saying that there's going to be copycats. I really didn't expect it to happen quite this quickly. And if anything, I figured if this lawsuit was favorable to the plaintiffs and went that direction, then it would establish a precedent, and then you'd see even more people jumping on. I still believe that'll happen if this lawsuit is successful. But for a multitude of reasons, I don't think it will be, and I think Edward shares my feelings. But we're going to go ahead and go through a little recap. Happy birthday, Jerry, first and foremost.
Happy birthday!
What are you, 39?
Yeah, okay.
Just like Jack Betty?
We can go with that.
I've got the Dr. Good Vape e-liquids here. Now, these are the reformulated versions that are supposedly free of DA and AP, and I will say that the flavors are a little bit different. They're not going to taste like the original formulation. I'm a fan of the reformulations because they've lost some of the cloying sweetness, at least with a couple flavors. And, Gary, look, there's a couple flavors that I enjoyed vaping in the past, but like Moon Sugar for one, Moon Sugar was cloyingly sweet to me. And now
it's titled as sugar, though, man.
I know. I mean, what do I expect? But Dabble Do Ya is a really good one. This is apple pie, vanilla caramel, which
Dabs are another show.
Pretty much all of those things you would automatically think, okay, well, this has got to be loaded with DA. But again, reformulation, and this stuff is very good. It's made by Molecule Labs. You'll hear that name come up again here later on in the show. They've got a very, very nice facility there. And I know Dane, when he was working with AIMSA, had the chance to tour their facility. But we're going to just move along here. Any vape mail, Ed?
Me, I got a little
Yes.
bit. So I got some
Just a
3D
little.
printed boxes in from iMaterialize that I've been building. So this is the big 2200 milliamp hour.
I like that.
And yeah, it's a beast. And I think I have a problem. I'm kind of in love with the Super Tank Mini. So like this is my first one that I got in black, and then they came out with white, so I got the white one, and then like a week later they came out with green, and another green, and they even had blue. And they even had this this Super Tank KS model.
How many operating mods do you have in front of you?
Wait, is that that's like the gas tank?
Yeah.
Yeah, this holds like
Those are
8
pretty
mils
cool.
of liquid.
Yeah.
It's the Super Tank version, so it takes coils because I am done with wicking and wiring. I'm done. I'm tired of... I have 2 drippers that I play with, and they'll have a coil on there probably for a year. I'll change the wick every once in a while. And then a big shout out to the lovely Jeannie K for making a custom drip tip for my Triton tank.
Yeah, that's
So
nice.
yeah, I got a few things since last time. And,
I think
I
Jimmy
like
K is going to kick my butt because I still haven't sent Jerry's tip off. It's right here on the desk in front of me.
And it was his birthday, too.
It was Vapor.
Yeah, I mean, I
This is
sent
birthday,
Jerry
too.
stuff this morning. I mean, that's pretty.
Okay.
I did, and I got one other thing that I'll probably show you guys later.
Oh, okay. I know what it is. Yeah, he's got a secret. All right, Jerry, any vape mail?
Lots of vape mail. I got some stuff from Anokin. I got a Cool Fire 4 Plus and what is it, 3300 milliamp hour, 60 watt, no, 70 watt mod, and their Apex tank and a whole bunch of.
I have a
ice-
question about that mod. How long have you used it, and do you like it?
I've used it for 2 days now. Battery's holding out pretty good at 60 watts with this Apex tank, but it's no temp control. And the screen's kind of, it's just not what I'm used to.
Wonky.
Yeah, it's kind of old school. But battery life is great, 3,300 milliamp hour. It's small, it's light. But it's unexceptional if you're looking for features. It's just a good 70 watt mod, and it's got the battery to go with it. Their tanks are nice. They sent me this, and I got another tank. These iSub tanks. They have temp control coils, some Clapton coils, and this coil's good for up to 70 watts in here. And
Nice.
you can get all of that out of it. It's been pretty good. So good stuff. They sent me an Endura T18 starter kit. And I like this because this is a dual coil. The coils are at the top of the head, and they've made this very much like a cigarette draw. So for people coming off analogs, this is a really good starter kit. And the draw is really tight. It really reminds you of a cigarette, and it's only 14 watts. It's a 1,000 milliamp hour battery, but the vape is very warm right from the get-go. So you really you can
Because
see
of the
how it's smoking.
proximity of that coil.
Yes. So it's Japanese cotton. It's a very long, elongated coil. It's got a lot of juice holes here, so the cotton runs down the inside of the coil, and you have 2 horizontal coils at the top of the head. So 14 watts. It's immediately a warm vape, and again, it's a tight draw, like a K-Fun light type draw. But this is targeted for people who are coming off cigarettes. It's $29 for the whole kit.
Nice
1.5.
I like those. I like the mouth to lung draw. I'm a big fan, and
So-
and I may pick one of those up just to travel around with.
It's good, and the coil heads are only $1.75, and that's bust out retail right now. So they're almost half of what like a sub tank coil would cost you.
It's cheaper than my Jewel pods.
Yeah,
It's true. Those things are.
and
Um,
this is 80% VG juice, and it handles it just fine.
And it's top coil. That's a weird thing because I know some of the old timers that are in the room here in chat are going to remember those top coil Clearos,
Yeah,
which were
CD4.
absolutely horrible. Yeah, or the Stardust when you'd have to do the spin.
oh, because you'd have to tilt.
Yeah,
Yep.
you'd have
And-
to tilt and spin.
Like I said,
And
the coils are on top, and you have 4 rows of holes punched in the side of the head, and Japanese cotton running all the way down to the bottom of the tank. And again, this is 80 VG, and I've had it down close to the. I've never had to tilt this to saturate it. So, when it comes with a
Jerry,
little
have you been
stand.
watching a lot of Phil's videos? Because I hear you saying cotton.
Cotton.
Oh,
Cotton.
Cotton.
Hey man, I'm from Brooklyn, so I gotta get my Brooklyn
Ribs,
going.
they were horrible too.
Hey,
I've got a whole
I thought-
box of those old Stardust.
those
But
CE4s, I thought they were great because didn't they lead to the Genesis?
I see what you did there.
No tilting.
Dum-dum.
And then the
Screen Door
what
Club.
I picked up on Black Friday, I got a couple of eVic VTC minis for me and my wife, like $35 with some Black Friday deals. Ed's got one. I love this thing. Software upgradable, so it's not quite eScribe, but you can change the software. And the first upgrade I
Form
did
factor's
completely changed
great.
the screen. Huh?
The form factor is great.
It's tiny. It's a single 18650. And when I
Yeah.
upgraded the firmware, if you have depending on your resistance, it'll go to 75 watts. And the temp control works pretty good on it. It's just great. It's if you have the DIY NA, and I know you guys do, it's you can see how much smaller. Where is it? See how much smaller
Nobody
it is.
has that. It's literally the same size as the sub-box, the Kanger sub-box, but less rounded. Which for me, I like this squared off a little better. The roundedness made it too small for me.
Now this is a good form factor. It fits nice. It has an onboard USB charger, nice little magnetic battery back. So, I mean, for $35, it's not a bad deal.
I'm vaping my Velocity. This was a
Nice.
gift from Bob.
Wow.
You should
From
tell Bob.
Canada.
Nice.
Huh?
You should tell Bob that.
What?
Thank
A
you.
gift from him?
No,
Oh,
that's-
I said thank you many times.
Bob
He only
said
gets
he
one
misses
thank you. I miss
says he
Bob
misses
too.
Has Dane gotten any vape mail?
No, what
No,
I did
Dean never
say,
gets vape
if
mail.
by some stretch of the imagination he got some vape mail, I started laughing when I read that. I'm like, it's actually kind of true.
It's true.
Because I
Did you
didn't
get a
get
new
vape
hat?
mail.
Did you
No,
get-
this is not new. This is my fancy Bellagio hat. I was
Have you
actually
gotten
working
anything new?
today.
A new knife? A new can of snus?
I have snooze coming from James, so that'll be here. And then James
I got
actually
that.
sent me an early Christmas present, and it's coming, but he sent me two instead of one, so I
bought
got
him
one back.
I bought him a Chinese quadcopter and I accidentally ordered two of them. I'm like, why is shipping so expensive? I don't remember paying this much.
Wait. So you're sending all this shit to Dane and you can't send Jerry a fucking a little drip tip?
Hey, okay, here. This is the thing.
Hang up
They
the
shipped
phone.
it directly.
Hang up, Jerry. Hang
They
up,
shipped
Jerry.
it
Just hang up.
directly. If I could order a genie tip and have it shipped straight to Jerry's house and not have to ship it, then I'd do it. Even if it
It's like-
cost more.
Genie's like 50 miles from him.
That makes it worse.
I could drive out there and
Oh
get it.
man! All right. This is my non-vape mail here. This is a lime cutter, and this is a little pocket knife. It's pretty cool. I like this thing.
A little Ginsu knife.
I can't remember the name of the guy. It looks almost like a little cleaver. It's got a straight edge, and it comes with a double welt pocket sheath. And yeah, it's pretty cool. A little fixed blade.
So
not
how about you,
particularly intimidating.
Mr. Wolff? Anything interesting that you want to, I guess, tell us about?
I got my replacement eVic VT. The one that I had was one of the original ones where it would fire 30 watts every time it came out of sleep mode, and since I'm using a Nautilus Mini, that it would just fry my coils. So I finally got the one back. It actually hits better than my SVD2, so I've got a new mod and an SVD2 for sale.
Now,
Were you ever
what do you?
were you ever thinking when you got those dry hits that karma's a bitch?
He's in rare form today.
He is. I think we already called it.
I'll say yes.
Ed Wolff and Ed Green both have the reputation of sometimes being kind of asshole-ish in certain
Asshole-ish.
situations.
Yeah.
I created
have,
that word.
I
by
have
the way.
nothing to back mine up, though.
It has no body of asshole-ish work.
That's right. I just make this shit up.
Cornhole.
They act
Oh,
like the
man.
Chinese.
So, a serious question, Edward. What wattage do you vape at? What resistance do you like to stay at? I'm just curious about what kind of draw do you like on devices?
I'm entirely mouth to lung. I tried when I got the EVIC VT. I tried using temperature control and basically a SUB-OHM tank for the first time, and I didn't like it at all. I don't know if it was the nickel coils, which I'm paranoid about, but I might have just been setting the wattage too high because I was kind of burning up my lungs, I think. So it was just completely unusual to me. I was coughing, which I never cough. So I basically am vaping a 70-30. It might be a 60-40 PG. I use cola flavor most of the time.
Okay.
And I vape it between 6 and 7.5 watts.
And what milligram level?
12.
12, okay. Yeah. Chicago Rod, I know you said that you vape like a ton of little micro puffs. That's how you vape. And I can say from experience that is also how Chicago Rod vapes, because his battery dies very quickly, but he only vapes at 7 watts. So,
But he takes long draws, though.
Yeah, that's true. He takes long draws at 7 watts and then
You have to.
tends to blow the vapor directly into someone's face.
It takes 10 seconds before it heats up.
All right, so let's move on here. First thing, oh man, we're not going to cover that. The first thing is actually a story that is fit for the after show. Thank you, Jerry.
Had to do it. Sorry.
Yes, someone shut
I just
down
want to know
someone
who
else's chimney.
superimposed your picture on that story, James. Although I didn't know that was before the beard, so I
Wow.
didn't remember that one.
All right,
So
first up.
So stick around for the after show if you want to hear about pooping in a chimney.
Yes.
A homeowner's flu poo horror.
Yes, a flu poo horror.
You wee bastard.
Oh man, Santa's going to have a surprise if they don't clean that up. Hands right in it. All right, so just starting from the beginning here, a big thanks to Shannon Dees for calling our attention to this. This is from Pennsylvania. Governor Tom Wolff has a proposal out there to impose a 40% tax on e-cigarettes, which would eliminate the financial incentive to switch from smoking to vaping. Again, they're kind of doing this in a misguided attempt to solve their deficit problem, and it's not a good idea. These are the kind of hand checks that I love to see, by the way, because I gotta say I'm about ready to just start taking people off my friends list for the hand checks, and also the, what do they call it, like a shots fired and a return shot when you do a cloud video.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really infuriating to me, especially right now at this juncture. But this is Shannon Dees' post today. The only hand check that matters today, and she's got a picture of a cell phone, and then the numbers for the majority leader. So that's great to see. And also somebody who's been instrumental, if you want to keep up with what's going on over in Pennsylvania, if you go over to Twitter and follow @FatCatVaper, that is Chris Hughes on Twitter. He's the SFATA Pennsylvania chapter president, and he's been actively working on fighting the punitive taxation that threatens Pennsylvania. So, again, this is something they've got to be vigilant with out there, because you know what? I can speak from experience with the taxation that came into Cook County and Chicago. I mean, hey, that happened very quickly. The threat was there for a very long time. But honestly, I mean, the turnout and the opposition was not all that overwhelming. There weren't a lot of supporters, a lot of people in our corner. So you got to be vigilant. And the title of the show, of course, is kind of a throwback to the movie Network. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore. And we were going to play the video clip from that, but I think we'll probably end up getting pulled off YouTube or the episode won't be viewable in other countries if we kept that clip in there. Next, Connecticut's SFATA chapter has a lobbyist fund drive. This is sponsored by Anakin, and Kevin over at VP Live told me about this one, and I do want to bring it to everybody's attention. Anakin has donated $2,000 worth of vape gear to the Connecticut chapter of SFATA, and this gear is being raffled off to help fund Lobbyist for Connecticut, Nicole R. Griffin, and that's where the money is going, just so you know. And also, this is specifically for Chicago Rod. Before you go off over the fact that this is a raffle, they are doing this the proper way. So they're doing things by the book. If you write in, you can get your one free ticket, all I's dotted and T's crossed. So there you go. Chances may be entered without charge. You do have to send off a actual letter to SFATA, their Connecticut chapter. So that covers that. And the other thing I want to say about this is lobbyists are a necessary part of this industry, and particularly at this juncture, and they don't work for free, and that's to be expected. So, and we've seen it in other states that did not have lobbyists, where they tried to do things themselves. And granted, there's some excellent, local vape groups that have done quite a bit. They've organized rallies, etc. But you need to get somebody that's got a little bit of background and knows how to talk to these people holding legal offices. So it's very important to have lobbyists.
Hey James, I listened to Grim Green, one of his vlogs, just this past week or so. It might have been last week, and he did touch on that the tobacco industry, and I'm pretty sure this number's right, spent $14 million on lobbyists.
Yeah.
SFATA, $100,000. So it's a big battle when we're fighting that much money.
Yeah, and they've seen it too when they show up to places like Washington during this last tax bill. And when they show up to these hearings, they can see that, Big Tobacco literally has a stable of lobbyists that are present, multiple individuals, and we may have one, so one per state, or one or two per state. So it's really, it's kind of sad to see. That being said, one comment that I did want to make about this. As a consumer, my hope is that the larger part of the lobbyist cost, their salary, is being absorbed by shops and vendors within the state of Connecticut. And obviously, if if the Connecticut chapter of SFATA is trying to come up with $2,000, that's not going to pay a lobbyist. So my guess is that they are taking on some of that burden. There's nothing wrong with consumers stepping up and donating as well, but obviously this money needs to come primarily from within the industry, those vape shops and those vendors within the state specifically. So we'll put the link in the replay. That again is done on Raffle River, and all the information is there. I think it's $1 per slot, and the drawing is going to be on January 1st. So that's that. Jerry.
Hi, Jeannie.
What do we got?
The Sultan of Johor has banned vaping in the state and ordered that it be enforced in a month. The Sunday Star reported in an interview with the Daily, Sultan Ibrahim Sultan.
This is hold on just a second. This is the Malaysian Insider. This is an article from the Malaysian Insider.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I should have read that. But in an interview with the Daily, Sultan, if I could say this right, Ibrahim Sultan Iskandar said he wanted vaping outlets to close down by January 1st. I don't want to hear any excuses. Funny things in Malaysia. Somebody has with the script, guys. This is a question of health and its effects on young people. It has nothing to do with businesses, and for sure, it has nothing to do with race. I'm greatly disappointed that some people are bringing up racial threats and political threats, the Sultan was quoted as saying. He ordered the State Executive Council to hurry the implementation in their meeting next week, saying that the state could invoke local government bylaws to start closing down vape shops. Sultan Ibrahim also chastised politicians for pandering to the new vaping culture for its lucrative business opportunity, despite the known risks to health. He said instead of allowing the new business of vaping, youth should revert to their previous existing businesses, as there is no need to encourage a new form of addiction. The Johor ruler also warned the long-term effects of vaping and medical treatment requirements were bound to rack up a staggering healthcare cost to taxpayers. Now, I have one question. Did they ban analog cigarettes or...
No, they didn't. And that's why I think this is incredibly duplicitous on his part. Because, considering the known risks of conventional smoking and the benefit of reduced harm alternatives, and the Malaysian Health Ministry is doing nothing to promote any type of reduced harm alternative. They're attempting to stamp it out. It's quite the contrary. Now, it's important to note that contrary to what some are saying, vaping isn't being banned in the entirety of Malaysia. Here's a map showing, let me see if I can pull this up here. This is a map showing Malaysia, and this shows Johor. So Johor is circled in red. It's worth noting that no other states within Malaysia are currently calling for an outright ban. Other states are calling for tighter restrictions on the sales of e-liquids, including a measure that would require the sale of e-liquids with nicotine to go through a licensed pharmacist. This is crazy. A licensed pharmacist or a medical practitioner. For months, they've been raiding shops and seizing e-liquid and mods. Also, I'm sure you saw Singapore on this map. Let me show you again. It's right down here. It's really tiny on the screen, so I don't know if you can see it. But Singapore, vaping is already banned in Singapore, basically. So this is kind of a roadmap of how they're handling vaping in Singapore. The ban goes into full effect on December 15th this year, and it includes these following products that are listed here. So again, dissolvable tobacco or nicotine, smokeless cigars, smokeless cigarillos, smokeless cigarettes. And then the solution, so here we get the e-liquid, and they're using the term ENDS or vaporizers, so electronic nicotine delivery system. Here's the second phase, which takes effect from August 1st. It covers nasal snuff, oral snuff. These right here, Gutka, Kani, and Zarda, those are pretty dirty tobacco products in terms of harm reduction. So, a lot of this stuff I don't really disagree with. But again, the thing that's getting a pass is cigarettes. So it's kind of crazy. Anyway,
China, Malaysia.
What's the tax on cigarettes in Malaysia?
I'm making a list.
He's checking it twice.
Singapore, Malaysia. All these countries. China was first. Malaysia.
Oh,
Singapore.
man. Is this another rant?
Malaysia and Singapore, you're next. I'll see you cruds in Vegas. I'll see them in Vegas. They're there too.
They have selfies.
Oh, man. I've got friends that live in Malaysia, man.
Tell them to leave now.
Why are you always hating? All right.
And
Yeah,
I won't even go into what
Gutka
this
is safer
country
than
is best
smoking.
for.
That's probably true. Even Gutka is safer than smoking. Smokeless tobacco has been under attack too, because they're talking about some revisions to the way snus is treated over in the EU. Once more, they're talking about revising that and having to eliminate any description of flavors, because there are flavored snoozes on the market. So, what you're going to be left with different color-coded cans at that point. So,
They'll cane you for the first offense.
in Malaysia,
Yeah,
you get caned.
by a lady boy.
Now you took it too far. All right, Ed. Exploding hoverboards. Can you believe it?
No, I can't believe it.
Here comes the GoPro.
This is where Ed looks like he's hanging himself.
It did look kind of like that. He got on his hoverboard last night, and it was pretty funny. I think he went to get it. He's going to give us a demonstration.
He's got to put out the fire first. Ed's
Don't do it.
The hoverboard's on fire. It's on fire.
All right.
Wait a minute. I've got my fire extinguisher.
Were you wearing a helmet?
Ed
Ed always
charges
wears
his
a-
hoverboard with an ego
It's
charger.
necessary.
That's right. All right, let me see if I can play this.
Hoverboard
Oh.
is on fire.
My hoverboard is on fire. I got to rewind it now. See, we weren't prepared.
I love
Damn
this
it.
video.
I was prepared.
I wasn't.
Be prepared. Be prepared.
Look at and this guy, he films in portrait format, not landscape. I hate that. All right, here we go.
Hoverboard is on fire. What is going on, dude? Mom, get some water or something.
Get some water,
No,
It's on
the
fire.
operative word in that sentence is mom.
Mom.
Is that Twisted 420?
Does sound kind of like him. No, they're dumping water on it. He's a very good
Mom.
photographer.
Yeah, we can only see us though, James.
You can't see the video.
I didn't go. Oh man! All right, that was an epic fail.
Hoverboard is on fire.
Here, let's try this.
What
Go
is
live.
going on, dude? Mom, get some water or something.
Mom,
It's on fire.
what part of fire don't you get, mom?
Put that on and then put some water on it. Sometimes water. Oh,
Pee on it.
I've heard that sound before.
That's the sound of a venting battery.
Yes.
I am, Mom.
Wow.
It was a dud.
The battery just shot out.
Oh, it's on fire.
Hoverboard on fire. Y'all see that?
My
Go get y'all
hoverboard's on
kids
fire, Mom.
$500 down the drain. Just like that.
There it goes again.
Mom, it's catching on fire again.
I said, your dad is just sitting there.
Those were truss fire batteries.
Done lit back up again. Cannot believe this, y'all.
Not
Hoverboard
you.
out. Y'all see this?
Yeah,
No
we
more
see it.
for
You're
me.
taking a video of it, dumbass.
What's the return policy to Alibaba?
Get down from Fast Tech.
I like how he walks back and forth, closer
Oh
and then
my
away,
God.
closer and then away.
Well, that's over with. They better. I'm gonna die.
Here comes the lawsuit.
That's what I'm saying.
You almost messed up my weed.
My
Sorry,
hoverboard's
that
on
was
fire.
stereotyping. That's stereotyping, my bad.
Yeah, it was. That's wrong.
I'm suing
All
you.
right. So there's a
Yeah.
new study out there, Dane. Why don't you take
There is a
look at
new
this?
study out there. Yep. From British American Tobacco, actually, that claims e-cigarette vapor is no more dangerous than air. Inhaling vapor from e-cigarettes is as safe as breathing air, according to a new paper that compared two e-cigarettes with regular cigarettes and, of course, air. Research published in Toxicology in Vitro, that's
Spit it
really
out,
hard to
man.
say,
Spit it out, man.
used a combination of tests to find out whether e-cigarette vapor is harmful to people's airways. To model the possible harmful side effect of e-cigarette vapor, which contains, among other things, nicotine and flavorings, British American Tobacco partnered with the tissue engineering firm MatTek to use a smoking robot with respiratory tissue. After 6 hours of exposure to tobacco smoke, cells died off. I don't know why I'm laughing. But after an aggressive and continuous dose of vapor, the effect on their airway tissue was similar to that of air. By employing a combination of smoking a robot in a lab based test using respiratory tissue, it was possible to demonstrate the ability to induce and measure aerosol irritancy and to show that different e-cigarette aerosols used in this study have no cytotoxic effect on human airway tissue, said BAT spokesperson Dr. Marina Murphy. BAT claimed the new methodology could be used to help develop product standards and testing for e-cigarettes in the future. Currently, there are no standards concerning the in vitro testing of e-cigarette aerosols, said Marina Tranny. Wow, that's a bad name. Head of R&D for, British Americans Tobacco's next generation nicotine products. Our protocol could prove very useful in helping the process by which these guidelines might progress, she added. The study comes as state lawmakers in California proposed the ban of use of e-cigarettes in public places. Democratic Senator Mark Leno of California is sponsoring the bill as part of the series of anti-tobacco crackdowns. Decades ago, the tobacco industry tried to fool us into believing that filtered cigarettes were a healthier alternative to traditional cigarettes, and now they're making the same claims about e-cigarettes, said Leno. He went on to claim that the tobacco industry is using a new delivery system which is currently addicting the children of California to toxic nicotine. While the authors of the study confirmed the consensus view that e-cigarettes are far less harmful than regular tobacco products, they say that further studies are required to fully assess their safety for long-term use.
Yeah. So we covered this BAT thing back when they were first talking about doing another study, and they put out an excellent video on it. I'll see if I can dig that link up because it's kind of interesting, and the methodology behind the testing is pretty sound. Of course, it is coming from British American Tobacco, so obviously as soon as people see that, all credibility gets thrown out the window.
That's fact.
You know, there's been other clean air studies, and the information has been similar, but this is the first time I believe they've tested it on even a lab-developed tissue. So that's kind of interesting. And now moving on to the ambulance chasers. Jerry, I think you're the one that clued me into this one. There is a website out there for a group called the Lambert Firm, and they are personal injury lawyers.
In a wreck? Need a check?
Glenn Lerner. Have you ever seen that guy? He looks like he should be in the WWE, man. He's
It does. Yeah, it does.
completely cut. He looks like John Cena in a blue-collared shirt.
It's true.
But the Lambert Firm, and apparently they specialize in electronic cigarette e-cig injury lawsuits. This is what they have to say about e-liquids. The nicotine solutions found in e-liquids and e-cigarette cartridges contain quickly absorbed powerful neurotoxins that are extremely poisonous if ingested. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, poisonings can also occur when liquid nicotine is inhaled or absorbed through the skin or eyes. These dangerous situations can cause severe headaches, eye irritation, vomiting, seizures, dry cough, shortness of breath, wheezing, and can even be deadly. And I believe, Edward Wolff, you were saying this to me, and I can't remember who this is quoted with, but or who this is credited to, but the dosage is the poison. Who said that, Edward? Do you remember? He might be muted.
I think he is muted.
Basically, without having any quantitative proof there, or without any figures, this is kind of misleading. The site goes on. While many consumers are using e-cigarettes believing that these products are safer than traditional cigarettes, they might actually be inhaling and ingesting cancer-causing chemicals. So there you go. Look, we've got diacetyl lawsuits that are now on the books. Apparently these guys are available too. So, you know, litigious folks out there, I'm not recommending it, but here you go. Here's another set of ambulance chasers that you can call into play here. They continue, exposure to these dangerous nicotine solutions can result in lifelong health complications or even be fatal. If you or a loved one has suffered serious injuries as a result of using or ingesting e-liquids, you may be entitled to financial compensation for medical bills, lost wages, and other damages. And, of course, they've got to remind us, the lawyers here at the Lambert Firm are committed to making sure the manufacturers, distributors, and marketers of these products are held accountable. So, yeah, there you go. Lambert Firm. I'm not too excited about that.
Yeah.
Yes. I'd rather call Glenn Lerner.
Now, were the James, were the law firms involved in some of the suits we're going to talk about the same?
This particular one, no.
Yeah,
no,
this
but for the
particular one is
Foxcons and the
not.
Cuttwood suit, were they the same firms involved in those? Is
Yes.
it one firm behind those class action suits?
Yeah, Edward can speak to that a little better than I can, but he did do some research into that, and there are indeed some of the same lawyers that are named in both cases. So we'll cover that in just a couple minutes here. But first, I do want to bring up some very positive news, because we do like to bring some positive news to the table when we can. Over in Toronto, Canada, in Queen's Park, there was a protest of Bill 45. And this is good news. There was an excellent turnout last Saturday, December 5th, for a rally in Toronto, Canada. Let me see if I can find a infographic from that. For those who do not already know, Bill 45, the Healthier Choices Act, recognizes e-cigarettes are not tobacco products, and that's a great thing. And it could potentially keep the products from being taxed like tobacco. But Schedule 3 of Bill 45, which passed third reading in May, on a vote of 99-1, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
It includes public use bans in hospitals, schools, public event centers, businesses, but here's the catch. It includes vape shops. So if you're a vape shop, you can't have vaping inside your business. Apartments and condo, common areas, hallways, elevators, etc. So, I guess that's the most onerous portion of this bill, the fact that you can't vape in vape shops. But it also goes a step further, too. It limits advertising and access to devices prior to sale. So, in other words, if you walk into a shop and you want to see a Kanger Subbox Mini, it's illegal for them to hand it to you prior to the sale. All mods and accessories have to be kept behind glass or stored, and liquid has to be kept out of reach. Also, any promotional signs that are visible from the outside of the shop would also be prohibited. It would be illegal for them to demonstrate how to use said devices. So, it seems immediately apparent the issues that this is going to pose for vape shops. You got somebody who's trying to make the switch from conventional cigarettes to vaping, and they go in and they don't know how to use a device, or they don't know what they want or what they need. Now they can't try anything. You can't demo it for them. It's really ridiculous. I don't know, Dane, what are your thoughts?
I've agreed with you on this one with public use bans and things like that, and I think they just went a little bit too far here. That's like saying that you're going into a perfume shop to buy perfume, but you're not allowed to spray it and smell it, and it has to be kept away from somebody. It's absolutely ridiculous. It really, really hamstrings brick and mortar stores at the point of sale, and it's just absolutely ridiculous. It squeezes them completely unnecessarily, because in a vape shop, that would be one of the least harmful places for secondhand vapor, because the only people that are in there are either vapers or people who are about to be. So to me, it's utterly ridiculous.
Yeah, it definitely is. And on public use bans, we have a similar conclusion, Dane. If I'm vaping to sate my need for nicotine, I can vape pretty much anywhere, including locations that have current use bans. Again, I'm not advocating that you do this personally. That's your own personal decision what you decide to do, because again, if it's against the law in whatever place you live, then you're running a risk. But, using something like a Juul or an Ego 1, it's really simple to take a stealthy hit.
It is.
And the other thing, too, is just being considerate. So, again, the way I vape, I'm vaping for nicotine. I'm vaping because I enjoy the flavors sometimes, but when I'm out and about, all I really care about is getting the nicotine that I need, in which case, I can take stealth hits anywhere. And it's not going to inconvenience anybody around me. It's not going to create this huge cloud of vapor in the air. So,
and we did that quite well. We did that quite well on vacation.
Yeah.
I thought. We were everywhere in heavily populated
Nice
areas in
restaurants,
San Francisco. Yeah, everywhere. And no one knew we were vaping. No one.
Yeah.
I did it on that dock where you took the picture of the sign too, but it was a long waiting line. It was
For Alcatraz?
Yeah.
Well, they
it was a
couldn't have
long
thrown
waiting
you in
line.
Alcatraz. It's no longer a functioning prison, so. Plus, you would have known how to get out. You just make one of those bar spreaders, and then you sap one of the guards and climb up. And yeah, that
Did you
would've been
see
great.
those? They had those little jack saps in that thing. That was pretty cool. I kind of wanted to take one of those.
Yeah, the guards weren't allowed to carry them, too.
No, but they did anyway, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yep. All right, what do we got from Orange County, Dane?
The good old OC.
That's
There's an Orange County woman claims deceptive advertising against e-liquid sellers. This is the one against Cuttwood here. An Orange County woman is suing manufacturers and sellers of e-cigarette products over allegedly deceptive misrepresentation of their e-liquids. Jennifer Cox, individually and for all others similarly situated, filed a class action lawsuit November 23rd in U.S. District Court for the Central District of California, Southern Division against, and here's the list: Cuttwood, Molecule Labs, Jared Unger, Michael Gouache, and those are actually the principals involved in those said companies, and does 1 to 10 alleging violations of California's Consumer Legal Remedies Act, California's Unfair Competition Law, California's Deceptive, False, and Misleading Advertising Law, and breach of express warranty. The defendants manufacture, sell, and distribute the Cuttwood brand of e-liquids, and they are used in electronic cigarettes. Cuttwood's e-liquids contain hazardous substances known as diacetyl and acetylpropanol, which are safe to eat and drink, but the inhalation of which is known to cause certain serious lung conditions, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and emphysema, the complaint states. The suit states certain flavors of the defendant's e-liquids contain the highest concentration of DA and AP levels of any e-liquid, but Cuttwood's warning label does not provide a full list of other carcinogenic ingredients. Now, it's an interesting stretch here that they go from harmful to lung tissue to pure, all-out carcinogenic ingredients and disease-causing substances contained in its products. The suit states independent laboratory tests have shown that Cuttwood's e-liquids contain far detectable amounts of DA and AP, though the defendants did not disclose or acknowledge these results. As a result of the defendants' deceptive, false, and misleading claims, the plaintiffs and others in the class have purchased its e-liquids without being advised they contain toxins and impurities that pose potential health hazards. The plaintiffs and other members in this class seek a judgment requiring the defendants to disgorge or return all monies, revenues, and profits obtained by any wrongful act or practice, enjoining the defendants from continuing the described unlawful practices, and awarding exemplary and punitive damages, equitable remedies, attorney's fees, and costs and interests. Cox and the punitive class are represented by attorneys Brian D. Chase and Jerusalem F. Belligan of Bisnar Chase in Newport Beach, and by attorney Jose Garay in Irvine.
Yeah, so one thing that's interesting here is there's no mention of the amount that they're seeking, and I know, I believe Edward has some of that information for us.
It's $5 million.
5 million? They're looking for 5 million? Before we move on to that, I would like to award Jennifer Cox the bag of dicks. It's kind of ironic that's...
And appropriate.
Cox also, yes. So, she gets a bag of dicks award for the evening, so congratulations, Jennifer.
The bag of
and-
cocks.
I wasn't going to go there. I was trying to...
Look, just for her.
Yes,
We could have said a
for her.
bag of relatives, okay? That's what we could have said.
Ooh, there you go. All right.
Wow.
All right. So let's move on here and let's start, Edward, on this whole portion of the show. And,
Well, you need to give Jeannie a chance to breathe first before you get into this, because I think
She's been-
her blood
she's
pressure
been-
up real high right now.
Oh, man. I'm sorry, Jeannie. Jeannie's swearing for all of us in chat. All right. Edward, go ahead. Proceed.
How would you like to proceed? I can
Let's-
talk.
Let's go
I
ahead
can-
and start at the beginning here. So,
Oh.
basically one of the things that we wanted to give you the opportunity to do is come on the show and kind of discuss this Five Pawns lawsuit and why you think that it doesn't have the merit that some believe, and why it, possibly could be bogus.
Right. Let me just go by way of introduction myself. I'm a vapor. I've been vaping for a while. My name is not Tom Biker. If I don't know if I need to explain that all over again. I'm working on something called VIA, and that's attempting to get a whole bunch of e-liquid manufacturers together to work as a cohort of people to work on the FDA different. Trying to get through the FDA approval if we're required to do PMTA applications. I've been to all of the different the FDA workshops. I went to all 3 of those. I did a listening session with the FDA for an hour. I gave them a 28-page presentation, and on Friday I'll be going into the OMB to talk to them as well. So this doesn't really relate to that, but I've got something called vapingindustry.org. Which is trying to work on that. I've obviously been on Rush's show many times, and I don't know if you guys listen to it, but you don't. He's probably done at least 20 hours on diacetyl and acetylpropanol. What happened that he got concerned with Suicide Bunny and Five Pawns, did the testing of all that stuff, and then ended up supporting this lawsuit with these lawyers, and so that's kind of where we're at today. Like a week or 2 ago, he did the rollout of the lawsuit. So far, the lawyers have not been on the show with him. I'm expecting that the lawyers are going to have to come on and explain their case, because usually when class action attorneys do a case, they do promotion of it to try and get more clients.
Right.
So I know we put together just a few different sound clips and stuff. So do you want to get rid of those at the beginning?
Yeah, we can go ahead and get rid of those. So one of the things that surprises me is, about 5 months ago, Russ did a show, and this was yet another one talking about Five Pawns and Suicide Bunny. But this was around the same time that over on Reddit, an individual had made a post with some allegations that there was mishandling of e-liquids, and there were all kinds of things that weren't being disclosed by certain vendors. And he was kind of loose with his words. He didn't really have a lot of fact to back it up, and this was Russ talking about how this guy on Reddit handled everything. So let me go ahead and play that.
And if anyone has any questions for Mr. Wolff, in the chat, kind of format it like this so that we know to ask him. Because I know there's a lot of questions that just get thrown in there, just people making statements, so that we know to ask the question for you.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and play this.
No secret. I'm no fan of these companies, right? God knows what I've done. Everybody knows what I've done. But what this person did is really that the person that made the post, the supposed expose about these companies, Wolfpack and Five Pawns and Suicide Bunny and Vape Wild and whoever else is involved. What this person done is really reprehensible. And quite frankly, it's just plain dangerous. What they did, and who knows who it was because it was made anonymously, what they did was they made a series of extremely damning allegations about the e-liquid manufacturing process, how the companies are related, what's the stealing of artwork and recipes and all this stuff without a single piece of evidence, without a source, and not to mention that, not that we know who the fuck this person is, almost all of what he's saying is second or third hand, and it's hearsay. This is not how to do it. This is the wrong way to do it. And like I said, it's dangerous, and here's why. That could be anybody writing anything about anyone. And it sends a really, really dangerous message that somebody is going to put this really, really, if it's true, who would know? There's no way to follow up on any of this. No sources, no facts, no evidence, no nothing. So if it's true, it's important information. Yeah, it needs to get out there, but that's not how you do it. I mean, I'm not saying you got to be the New York Times or anything, but for God's sakes, a source, a piece of evidence, a screenshot, a picture, something, anything, nothing. What this is, and what happened, the amount of attention this got, it just basically, and this is why I say it's dangerous, it just sends a message to really anybody who wants to fuck with a business that they don't have to have facts. They don't have to have evidence. They don't have to have a source. They don't have to have anything. All they have to do is have an imagination and an account on Reddit. And you can get all the, and you could, perhaps do grave damage to a business. And you don't have, all you got to do is make up a story. I think it's really sad that this thing got, here's the problem. A lot of people, they read a headline, which is pretty much all this as much substance in the headline as there is in the post. A lot of people, and shame on them, but this is just the way it is. A lot of people just read the headline and say, oh, it must be true. So of the 100,000 users in that subreddit, in the electronic cigarette subreddit, you probably got about 20,000 people who think it's true without even reading it. And, maybe they're idiots for that, but it just sends a message to other companies, to other people, to anybody with a grudge, that they can post this horrible information about anyone, and it's going to be promoted the fuck out of. I've never seen anything like this before, and it's really disgusting. Listen, everyone knows I've got no reason, and I'm not defending the companies. I'm just saying if you're going to get information out there, you've got to do it in a responsible way. Anyway, and the sad part about it is, if it's all true, anyone with a brain you haven't convinced, it's just, it's really scary stuff. It really is. I try to do what I do with, at least, listen, if somebody tells me that my mother loves me, I get another source. Okay? That's ABC of journalism. That was not journalism. That is just, for all I know, making shit up and just throwing it on the wall. And for some reason, people paid attention to it. I don't like it.
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I take issue with here, Edward, is, he's complaining about this guy, saying that what he did was reprehensible. And granted, Russ did have some information that he got from speaking to that customer service representative and doing research on Reddit and, mining information about other experiences that people may have had with Five Pawns. But his motivation is very suspect. I mean, I guess he's honest about it. But,
the clip there, I was driving the car listening to the clip, trying to do some research for this, and I heard that clip, and it sounded like he was talking about the Five Pawns case itself. Like, you can put anything up, and people are only going to read the headline, and you're going to get 20,000 people, like you just said, that are all going to believe it no matter what. And so that particular case, what he was actually talking about is that somebody put up a fake ID up on Reddit and was attacking Suicide Bunny, and it was just pretty much all bogus stuff. And it was kind of like just a lot of accusations. But when he said that this is, if somebody just takes a lie and puts it out with no facts, no evidence, which is what this lawsuit looks like to me, because they are lying inside of that lawsuit, that the effects can be really dangerous to a company and to me, that's the reason why I thought that was kind of important to listen to, is because he's contradicting himself from where he used to be. And he used to be there was all the stuff with Hannah and Vape where they put out warning messages to people, and he was adamant that you should give a warning that you shouldn't sue the industry. But now with 5 Ponds, obviously he's gone all the way over to the other side by feeding reporters, feeding lawyers, and going after this. And if you listen to his show, I mean, he adamantly says he wants to screw over 5 Ponds in every single way imaginable. So it's clear it's a vendetta. And then we can talk about what's inside the case and whether it's meritorious or not. But clearly he's antagonistic towards 5 Ponds for what he says that he was lied to.
One of the most interesting things to me here is just the fact that obviously you have Russ, who is not a fan of 5 Ponds, admittedly. So he's got a motivation that he wants to destroy them, or in his words, rape them, I believe is something that he used at one point when he was describing what he wanted to do, as well as some other unsavory things. But bottom line is, this was a brilliant move from his end to create controversy and get views and get clicks and get everything else that he wanted. But the problem is, I think this is really backfiring in a big way.
I don't think anybody can say they know what Russ wants. I certainly can't. And so what his motivations are, I mean, are pretty unique. He's a fairly unique guy. So I'm not going to say what his motivations are, because he's not getting paid for clicks and stuff like that. But the point is that you can go after a company and it can be really dangerous. And as he just said, he doesn't like it. Well, now we're on to another thing. There's some other stuff, I think, because I think we're already short on time. I don't know how long you want to go.
Let's just let it roll, man. I mean, if people want to tune out, we can put it up. They can catch the replay, do it in 2 parts, or not listen at all. I mean, that's up to them.
Right.
Okay, so I think because this wasn't sound clipped here, that I've got this other sound clip that I'm going to try and play here, and this is there's been a gigantic assumption that 5 Ponds has been lying with their marketing materials. And what I did is I went through the internet and tried to find any marketing materials where they said that they are using or not using diacetyl and acetylpropanol. I could not find anything. So I then told Russ that on his show, and this is before the lawsuit, and this is what he said. Let's see if this works.
But the other thing is that, I have looked, and I have not seen anywhere where 5 Ponds says that they don't have acetylpropanol. And I can't see that independently myself anywhere. So when people are saying that they lied, I'm not sure. I can't see that when it comes to AP, because I just don't see it anywhere.
I don't see it either. All right, well.
Were they telling people behind the scenes? Were people contacting them and saying, "Is this stuff good?" And then are there emails out there like that? Or I've been to their website and I don't even see. I think it might say diacetyl, but it doesn't say AP. I just can't find it. And if you look at their press release, their be aware or you're on notice blog post that they clearly say they're going to continue to use acetylpropanol because it's okay, and it doesn't have the risk. They're maintaining it doesn't have the risk profile of diacetyl.
Yeah, well, that's what they say. We'll see what happens as a result of that. Again, if you're a vapor in the state of California who has bought 5 Ponds and you have a receipt, email me at clickbangradio@gmail.com. What's going to happen is going to be very interesting.
Well, can I guess what that might be? Because there was news about.
You can guess. I won't.
5 months ago.
Yeah, I won't confirm or deny anything at this point. I can't.
Okay. Well, 5 months ago, one of these little uber liberal nanny state think tanks went and started suing about 20 different vendors for not labeling that they have nicotine on their bottles.
Okay, so did that come out okay?
Yeah, it did.
Okay. So what the last part was is there's a company in California called California Environmental Health, and they're suing lots of different companies for Prop 65 things. They've sued now 60 different companies, and that's all on Proposition 65 coming out of California. But the first part, and I think when I said I can't find it, and he said I can't find it either. So it's not there. And so if somebody wants to, I mean, I've been on Facebook, and people are saying, well, they lied. So I basically just said, okay, where is it? And nobody could come up with anything. And it's interesting to me that Russ also knows that the marketing materials, the advertising and whatnot doesn't exist, even though that's what's being claimed inside the lawsuit.
Yeah.
And so I think there's only one other clip to play, and that is the entropy one when I talked to Dr. Gene Gilman on Russ's show, and then we can be done with all the clips.
Okay. Yeah, because I know we got some questions as well. So let me go ahead and play this.
Yeah, I mean, I heard the answer. I know that there is controversy, but I'm kind of out of my depth. I mean, there's other labs that say they use one method and other labs that they say use another method. And I guess a lot of frustration from e-liquid manufacturers are that when you're talking about the difference between 10 parts per million and 30 parts per million, are the differences meaningful? And another thing that I've heard is that you need to get over about 100 or maybe 200 parts per million of either DA or AP before you're getting any flavor profile from it. So anything below that is really contamination.
Well, I mean, I can address the first comment, kind of. When we first started doing this testing, it was really common for us to see liquids that were at 20,000, 40,000.
And again, this is Dr. Gene Gilman that's responding.
Certainly above 10,000 micrograms per mil. From what I've seen recently, those liquids are completely banned in the industry. So I think that's a big win for everyone. And the paper from Dr. Farsalinas and Enthalpy, I think, is responsible for some of that, because I think people were selling products that they didn't know contained diacetyl and acetopropanil. So I think that's positive. And also, I think that people became aware of it and they started to taking out the intentional addition of diacetyl to liquids, because even though the health effects are not 100% clear, nobody can say for certain that diacetyl is going to cause any health effects. It does have some risk associated with it. So, I mean, it's probably in everybody's interest to avoid that, but that's over. Yeah, I think that's prudent. But we've seen the numbers come down, and if you look at the 5 ponds results, they're talking around a couple hundred micrograms per mil. Most of the liquids that we're seeing now that are testing positive are testing in a couple hundred micrograms per mil range. We're not seeing flavors that are in 20, 30, and 50,000 micrograms per mil like we were seeing just 2 years ago.
Okay.
If you want to pause it there.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so yeah, there's some more coming up, but I don't know if people caught what he just said, because if you read the lawsuit, what the allegation is that 5 Ponds has the highest recorded ever, at 2,000 or whatever it was said by Cloud9 of acetylpropanol, and it makes that claim repetitively inside the lawsuit where it says that it has the highest amount ever recorded, so that's one of their things. And then later on in the lawsuit, it's going to talk about how 5 Ponds' own testing shows it at like maybe 800 for one, and then 600 for another, and 400 for another, I think. Interesting. Not all of the 5 Ponds e-liquids, even by everybody's testing, have diacetyl or acetylpropanol. Some don't. But so the whole allegation that Russ has made and the lawsuit has made that it's the highest testing ever done is a complete fabrication and a lie. Because if you heard what Dr. Galen just said, is that they used to regularly find 40,000, 30,000, and 20,000 and 10,000 And those numbers are 5 times to what's 40 divided by 2, so that's 20 times higher than 2000.
Yeah. Before you continue, this is kind of interesting too. If you look at this this story out of Orange County here, this suite is also claiming that certain flavors of the defendant's e-liquids, naming Cuttwood, contain the highest concentration of DA and AP levels of any e-liquid. So again, it's kind of cookie cutter, and you know, whose is higher?
Right.
Well,
it's kind of interesting.
The premise of the fear of diacetyl and acetylpropanol has come from essentially one source, and that is the Dr. F and Dr. Gilman study. They worked on that together, and it's a joint. They both are signed as the writers of it. So if we look at where diacetyl, you start with Dr. F, then you go to Dimitri doing the crowdfunding, and then you take it on further, and then it goes on to VP Live, then Russ picks it up, and so if you look at all the medical journals, there's only one place where, with regards to electronic cigarettes, that diacetyl is ever mentioned, and that is the Dr. F study. Something came out just today, that replicates parts of the Dr. F study, but it's a lot different, and we can talk about that if there's time. But so I've everybody's been concerned, if for people like me, put it that way, that researched the heck out of this stuff before I started vaping. I knew that diacetyl was something that was out there, and that's why I started with V2, because V2 has batch numbers and published test results of everything going back 2-3 years ago. So it's been known that it's out there, but the only people that are saying that it is a medical problem is Dr. F. And I kind of balance that out with, if Stanton Glantz and the Jacklers at Stanford, they have access to labs, they've got access to PhDs, they've got access to grad students, and if diacetyl and acetylpropanol were the heavy gun that could be used by the anti-vaping people against vaping, I think that they might have done something with it.
Can I stop you there for a second? Because one of the things that I do want to mention is, now with this new study that was released today, that also mentions the dangers of these things in the concentrations that they're present in. But, Dr. F actually already wrote a response to it, and basically said that from the numbers that they recorded, for one thing, they seemed very low compared to what he had recorded, and they also didn't even acknowledge the fact that compared to cigarettes, if you're talking about comparative exposure, it is vastly lower concentrations, even in the highest numbers that are recorded, than that is present in cigarettes.
Yeah, but there's a major difference in this study, because what Dimitri and Dr. F did is they made a decision to not release the names of the things. They decided to not release the flavor profiles. They decided, and this study actually, any proper study, the whole point of doing a peer-reviewed study and publishing it is because a peer can look at your raw data and then say, okay, I can replicate this. That's the whole point of science. And so when he did not publish that stuff, that was really shady and fishy in my opinion, and that's why I told that to Dimitri, and that's why Dimitri just loves me, blocked me and whatever not. I mean, so, but if you look at the raw data, and I'll put the link, because I'm looking at it right now, into chat of the raw study, bink, where are you?
Yeah, and I've got one of the pages up here too, because I did want to call to mind something here. Now,
okay, so there's the raw study. If you actually go over to, I got to get back now. If you go over to page 25, it puts in the flavors and the companies. Now the companies are blinded. There's 9 companies, and they're just listed by A through I guess I. But they in this study, it's significantly different because it is testing for diacetyl, acetylpropanol, and acetone, ACETOIN, not acetone, acetone. Dr. F, when he went on and talked about acetone, said that he didn't think that was even a health hazard. But so when you're looking at the press release of that they say that they found at least one of them in, most of what they're finding at levels is acetone. So this is a whole new study, and I've only looked at this for maybe 2 hours now. That's all I've had in my hands. I've barely looked at it, frankly. But if you look at the highest number for diacetyl, it's peppered schnapps, and that's at 238. And for acetylpropanol, it's at 64. Most of these flavors in this have non-detectable or levels that are below 10. And so the absolute highest one is 268, and then the one that's next down off of that, I think, is 20. 27. And so now it's 38 for diacetyl. But if you look at the AP, it's similarly, and most of this stuff, almost all of it, is non-detected, or like they have a detection for 2D fruity as 9.3 for diacetyl, 0.8 for acetylpropanol, and 24 for so this is going to take some time to figure out. But if you look at the raw data, it's actually a positive. It's actually showing that most of these flavors. So, because I saw the story this morning and I kind of freaked out on it, because I'm going, oh shit, there's all of these different fruit flavors that they're talking about, and they're saying that they have diacetyl in there. And, Dr. F didn't release the flavor profiles, so I was figuring, but if you look at what the number, why the headline, just like Russ's headline, that it's a bogus headline, everybody's going to believe it, is right. It's coming from acetone. It's not coming from either diacetyl or AP.
Well, one of the things that kind of worries me about all this is, of course, I don't know. Look, the Dr. F study, when it first started out, was something that I was intrigued by, because obviously, if there's something that is potentially harmful or could be potentially harmful, I want to know about it, so that we can, vape smarter. But, this thing is kind of steamrolled, and I think Russ has had his part in this, through promoting it and trying to get information out there. And I am very suspect of his motivations, and again, that's all conjecture, but if you look at this PDF that was just released today, you look at the wording and tell me that California Department of Health isn't going to be just ecstatic to get this information. Many of these same flavors are common in e-cigarette flavor cartridges and are often sold with names that we consider to be potentially appealing to children, teenagers, and young adults. Cupcake, fruit squirts, Waikiki, watermelon, cotton candy, tutti frutti, double apple, hookah, blue water punch, oatmeal cookie, and alien blood. So again, this is something that I think is going to be fired back at us. And, they generally recognize as safe in the NIOSH levels. What do you think of those? I mean, again, we're dealing with a condition that has only been observed in a handful of people that worked under specific conditions. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, make no mistake, I've been concerned and voiced opposition to diacetyl and acetylpropanol for a long time, and that's basically because I didn't need to vape those flavors, and so also because I'm trying to get stuff through the FDA. If you look at the Flavor Ingredient Manufacturers Association, they have 27 ingredients that they say are potentially harmful as an inhalation risk. So my plan is just to basically knock off all of those and say, look, we don't use any of those, so we're going to march through the FDA. And using that MatTek thing that you talked about earlier, that MatTek, they make something called Epi-Airway, and Epi-Airway is in vitro testing for with respiratory lung cells in a petri dish. So that's one way to test it. So I've been against it, and that's just because it's simpler just to work around it. But now when Five Ponds said that they were going to continue to use it, and then there was also something where the Vapor Shark came out, and then there was people like whoever that M is, the co-host with Dimitri, she was just ripping on Cyclops vapors, saying that they're the scum of the earth, literally saying that they're scum of the earth, and so Cyclops Vapors put out a press release that says we test, we don't know why the results are different, and we're going to figure this out. And they I think are also still working on that. So when Five Ponds says that they're going to continue, and then Cyclops is saying we're going to try and figure it out, and they're going to put some money into respiratory testing themselves, I'm doing a rethink of it right now. I think that if you look at the diacetyl and acetylpropanol in cigarettes, we already know it's there. So the risk potentially of diacetyl and acetylpropanol would be equal to that of cigarettes. I don't think it could be greater, and it could be gigantically less, but I don't think it exceeds cigarettes. But I don't know. I mean, I'm still willing to look at the data, but then, since I've been against it, I've talked about it. I think it's people that are testing are doing a good thing, but then I go through the process of, wait a second, maybe I'm just a fucking idiot. And then I say, well, wait a second, where did this whole thing start? And it's from Dr. F, it's from Dimitri, it's to VP Live, it's to Russ. And then Dr. Gilman is, I don't know him, I don't care, but he said that 50% of his business comes from diacetyl and acetylpropanol testing. So, I mean, it's, you have to start raising the question now. Wait, how do we know that this is a risk? And then if you look at the Dr. F study, that was not the part that was put out in the abstract, but the part that was actually in the guts of it. The criteria for the NIOSH levels is a worker that is working in the bath of that for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, with 2 days off for 40 years, and then after that there becomes a 1 in a 1,000 risk of a worker injury, and that's the level that they set it. If you look at what he says inside of it, he says that he discounts that level of measurement. He doesn't think that is necessarily a very good standard. I could get the exact language, but he's skeptical of the levels itself. So maybe it is a danger, but maybe it's like saccharin. Maybe we need to get it over X amount. And if we had a chemist that was to grind out the numbers, maybe we can find out some better information. So I don't know right now, but I do know that the lawsuits are making the accusation all premised off the Dr. F study. And if you look at paragraph 51 in the complaint against Five Ponds, they're saying that the government has published an e-liquid research that says that it's these levels which are bad. When in fact the government never has. And so paragraph 51 is it's a fabricated lie within the lawsuit, and they're not going to be able to proceed with that in the lawsuit without removing it. They'll have to do a first amended complaint, because that's materially and factually inaccurate, along with the other item, which is that it's the highest level ever recorded. Right. When they're making that assertion, they know it's false. And all they have to do is if you look at the Dr. F study, even in the Dr. F study, in the guts of it, it says there's 30,000 that was tested. It's not just Dr. Gilman. It's also in the Dr. F printout that it says 30,000 and 10,000 parts per million. So that's where that is. And so I think we want to keep on going, but go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question too, and this just involves one of the plaintiffs. Or any of the plaintiffs for that matter. Does a history of smoking or previous exposure to diacetyl weigh into any possible claims of adverse health effects by any of these plaintiffs, or for that matter by anyone participating in the lawsuit? I mean, are they claiming any adverse health effects, or is it just the potential?
What they're doing is it's not a claim for health damages. It's called 17200. In California, which is the class action lawsuit. And this is something that I'm familiar with. I've litigated it, I've defended it, and I've won. I'm not a lawyer, but I went through a 3.5-week trial when I was sued as an individual under this. It used to be it just was rampant abuse. It's a California law, just rampant abuse. It could be used on anything and anyone. It's now been changed. They've put some controls on it that you cannot, as a lawyer, just sue somebody. You need to actually have a plaintiff. It used to be the other way, and now California is trying to change this to where that the lawyers won't get all the money, that California will actually get some of the money, and they're trying to get it that you have to show evidence of damages. So in this case against Five Ponds, there is no health aspect. Nobody's claiming to be injured. What they're saying is that the e-liquid was inherently dangerous because of diacetyl and acetylpropanol, and because these customers found out after the fact that they had diacetyl and acetylpropanol, that they've used false advertising in order to commit fraud. It's called unfair trade and practices. That's the law. So I mean, it's what they're claiming is that because Five Ponds said we use top shelf ingredients and this, that, and the other, that the litigants figured that meant that there was no diacetyl and acetylpropanol on, and that's the big leap that they're going to have to overcome to make this a case. Is that even though, and Russ already agrees that there was no marketing materials like that there was a couple of different things out in the Ethernet, or rather the internet, and a couple things that some people might have gotten bad information from a customer service rep, and then one person posted it on Reddit. But the claim is that they lied, and that because they lied, they falsely advertised, and because they falsely advertised, that they would not have used these products, and so they want the refund, and then they want everybody that is similarly situated to be designated as a class, and they want to sue for everybody in the class.
So, I know you did a little bit of digging in the Giant Vapes group as well, and you found some posts, an exchange between Dwayne and Five Ponds, and maybe we can talk a little bit about that as well, because I guess I'm not entirely surprised, because obviously I know Dwayne is not a fan of Five Ponds. But that kind of predates what happened with this lawsuit as well. And I've got a couple screenshots here. Let me pull these up.
Well, this is what is following up on what Dane said 2 weeks ago, is that Dane said Dwayne was not a fan of Five Ponds, and that was because I think he said that he was using 24 milligrams. Five Ponds decided to stop making that, and that was his flavor, and so then he stopped using it, and he just hated them.
Let me pull up that exchange here. So here we can see an exchange. Screw the 24 milligram users. They don't make you enough money to supply their needs, even if they are good customers. And then there's just an exchange. Somebody says he wasted it on an ego battery, which is ridiculous because that is douchebaggery. So I don't agree with that guy. Egos are very capable. And then this is the continued exchange here, which, let me see if I can make this bigger. Gambit tasted fine at 24 milligram. I don't care how you vape. You shouldn't care how I do it. If this was all about helping smokers quit and stay off tobacco, then they failed me after a year of using their products. And Five Ponds did actually respond to this. Now, this is the part where I agree with Dwayne on this point, because Dwayne was upset at what they said. J Love says, Dwayne, we made a decision to remove 24 milligram from the lineup when the science supported that high of a dose of nicotine could be hazardous. We want to be able to sleep at night. PM me, we have your 24 milligram Gambit. Post is here to thank Mike and the GV community for their support, and there's just more about the e-liquid. So I don't know where they got the idea that 24 milligram could be hazardous. I mean, again, as a former smoker, 24 milligram was a very valuable tool, and it was instrumental in keeping me off of analogs when I first started, because I needed that. But that's kind of beside the point. There's, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, Dwayne, like Russ, had a motivation that was not entirely just AP being present in that juice and feeling misled. Because from what I know, from what I can glean via Facebook, Dwayne is smoking conventional cigarettes again. Which, again, in and of itself, that's a personal decision. So if he wants to do that, that's fine. If anybody wants to do that, or if they want to supplement their nicotine, their use of vapor products with cigarettes, that is a personal health decision. But at the same time, I'm not sure what that demonstrates. Is he trying to make a point that this is maybe what drove him back to cigarettes? I don't know. I mean, I guess it's supposition at that point, but it's interesting nonetheless.
Sounds like horseshit.
Horseshit.
I'm going to go back to smoking because I can't buy 24 milligram liquid from this one company because there's no other company that exists.
Yeah, there are alternatives, and some of his
failed
favorites
me.
are out there. I mean, Vapalicious, again, Amy made wonderful e-liquids, but I'm telling you what, this is the dangerous thing. This is the wild card part of this whole equation, because Vapalicious made gooey butter cake, and they made AG's Dream, and they made all these flavors that, again, had diacetyl-based flavors in them. They had flavors in them that would lend themselves to concentrations of diacetyl, and the issue here is now we've seen Cuttwood, and by extension, the company that does the bottling, which is Molecule Labs, named in yet another lawsuit. So, this is kind of a tenuous time for e-liquid manufacturers, period. And, this particular lawsuit, and I know you have the text, I don't know what quantity was measured in these Cuttwood e-liquids. Do you have that information, Edward? Edward?
Sorry. I just barely looked at that, but from what I see in there, they're using the Vapor Shark database. Vapor Shark tested 250 different e-liquids, and that's what they're using for Cuttwood.
Right.
Because they referenced the Vapor Shark specifically in the lawsuit. The other thing with Dwayne, and I don't know if Dane can read these two things that I posted in chat, because he's got a really good reading voice. If you look right above there, what those are conditions of what a plaintiff must be for a class action suit. So,
if the named plaintiff has interests that are antagonistic, adverse, or in conflict with those of the remaining class certification should be denied. A class representative must demonstrate that he or she has no interest antagonistic to or in conflict with the interest of the unnamed members of the class. Number 20, an obvious function of the class action representative is to act as a check on the attorneys, as an additional assurance that in any settlement or other disposition of the interest of the members of the class will take precedence over those of the attorneys. This would seem to require that the class representative shall have some measure of independence from the attorneys, or at least not be the alter ego of the attorneys.
So I was looking up that, trying to figure out because Enjoy had their class rejected. Rather, these same exact lawyers that are suing 5 Ponds got denied having a class, and so we can talk a little bit about why maybe they're suing 5 Ponds because of Enjoy. But if you look at if Dwayne it hates vapors like Russ, or or if he doesn't like, people that are still buying e-liquids, it could potentially, and it might be a stretch, it might not be a stretch, if he's adverse to the other class of the people, that he's against what their interests are, that he can't be used. So I'm trying to throw him out as a litigant right now. So I'll say that I think based off these two things that Dwayne can't be a litigant, and he'll have to be thrown out as a representation of the class, because he's serving as the alter ego of the attorneys, and we know that because Russ went out on the show and solicited people after this lawyer poached his show, and then asked him to start claiming it. So she called him up, asked for litigants, got litigants, and so they're now the alter egos of the attorneys. So that's how, so Dwayne is gone. The next guy is this Sean Randall Thomas guy, and he's kind of interesting because at least, if people know who he is, he does these videos on the internet, but he also answers questions on Facebook. So I've been deposing my witness on Facebook, and he says a couple of interesting things. Is that, where is this? I asked him if he had ever seen the Five Ponds marketing materials before he purchased or whatnot. And he said, his response was, you're not going to catch me, I'll answer in the deposition. And that's the reason why I was asking him, is because nowhere in the Five Ponds lawsuit does it say that that any of them looked at any information that said they were diacetyl or acetylpropanol free. It never says that. It never makes that allegation. It just says that somebody should assume that it doesn't have DA and AP. So the whole premise of the claim that they wouldn't have bought it is because they think that there shouldn't have been diacetyl, and AP in there. That's one item. The next thing is that he vapes between 5 and 15 mils a day. So he would have gone through, depending on how many bottles he bought of Five Ponds, it would have been just a very quick event. Not sure if that makes that much of a difference. But I asked him what he vapes now, because if he wasn't going to vape Five Ponds, he would have had to go to something else. Because anybody that's inside of the class that represents the class is not going to buy Five Ponds, and they're going to buy an alternative. Well, that's not true for Sean, because he now does not buy e-liquids. He makes his own. He DIYs. And so he posted very generously his DIY kit, and so he has nicotine, propylene glycol, and vegetable glycerin. He doesn't buy the preset. He mixes them all together, his own nicotine strength. He's also using Capella vanilla custard, and that's purchased from my Vapor
my store.
No, not my. No, that's not. It's My Freedom Smokes.
My Freedom Smokes. Yeah, that's right.
And so, if you go and look at YouTube, you'll find My Freedom Smokes announcing that they're carrying the flavors from Capella, because they buy the big jug and then they rebottle it. The one that he holds up, it doesn't say V2, and if you look at some of the other pictures of their shop, it doesn't say V2, but these are the big gallon jugs. So I don't know if they're selling V1 or V2. It could go either way. But if he is vaping V1, he's literally mixing his own diacetyl now inside of his own lead liquids. And so there's going to be no possible way, if that's the case, maybe on both sides of it, but if it's V1, there's no possible way he's going to be he's going to be able to represent the class. He's not going to look anything like the class they're going to claim, so he'll be out. And then there's this one other guy that I forgot his name. He's in California. I have no information on him. So I think that they will not be able to get the class action suit because I've just wiped out 2 of their witnesses as representative.
Well, let's move forward with questions, and I know Dane had a couple questions for you, Edward, as well.
I do, and I'm sure that there are others that have the same. I know that Ed Green did as well. I guess the first and foremost question, there's a couple of things I want to make clear too, because there seem to be people commenting in the comments section on our last show that Russ is not a plaintiff in this lawsuit, and we know that. And that was never our assertion that he was. Do I believe that Russ is partially responsible or somewhat behind this lawsuit? Absolutely, I do.
Well, wait a second. Wait, why are you saying that? Because you really don't know that. You know that Russ.
No, he's not claimed in the list of plaintiffs, though. He is not.
But he would be a member of the class, unless they're saying that everybody has to have. Because I asked Russ, I said, "Why aren't you a plaintiff?" And he said, "Because I don't have a receipt." So. If you remember, he kept on asking, we've already played it tonight, he said, if you have a receipt, if you have a receipt. So he said he doesn't have a receipt. But how can you say that Russ is not an active part of the plaintiff group when he knows what the settlement agreements were?
He is certainly a driving force behind it, but I'm not sure that you can
Chicago Rod keeps saying that Russ is a paid expert.
Well,
I know he's listed as a vape guru.
As a vaping guru, which is an absolute.
I'm not sure how to get that title.
Well,
I didn't even know that was a real title. But all right, let's just say that.
Wait a second. Before you go on, if he were to be a paid expert, and that's actually a thing, there's absolutely no way he can be a paid expert because he's talking in public about this. He's giving his view. He's telling you that he wants the company destroyed. So he could never actually function in court as an expert witness because. There's no possible way. So before you just go, he knows what the settlement agreements are. He knows what the numbers are. He knows what they were offered. He knows all the communications. So if he is not a plaintiff, then what type of appendage of the lawyers is he? Because he's definitely something. He definitely has inside information. He's definitely participating along with the lawyers. Now, when Russ recorded the Five Ponds conversation, it would be illegal for these California lawyers to record conversations like that because it's a two-party state, and he did not say to the girl that he recorded her. So if those lawyers told Russ to go and record this person to get evidence, you've got an issue with the I think they call it the canon of legal ethics, that you'll be able to take these lawyers to the bar and show that they are using deceptive practices to deceive a judge, this, that, and the other. They shouldn't want to do that. So how he recorded the girl, I mean, there's a giant open question, and Russ has not responded as far as who and what he is to the case, and how does he have all of this information. And if you listen to his show, he said the lawyer called him up and he said, we're thinking about suing him. And they said, what do you think about that? And he said, well, it sounds like justice to me. So he is something to this case. The lawyers are using him. And the last thing on just this topic is that the lawyers are working with Russ, and Russ is working with a reporter that he knows over at Vice and having her generate articles on this. So you have a class action that's a public thing. You've got a lawyer using Russ, and then Russ using a reporter to push out information. And then you just heard Russ say, if you give people a headline, they're just going to believe the headline. And then Russ was saying that Five Ponds should have just crashed and caved to this lawsuit. I mean, you're looking at like RICO statutes that these guys and now you got the new lawyers that are using the same exact text. I mean, you can have racketeering charges against these lawyers. Now, that's what I would do, but I'm not a lawyer. But I think you've got a real strong case that these lawyers are going out of their way to screw with people.
Yeah.
Well, it's possible. All right. The first question we have, and I'm sure a lot of people will want to know and want to ask, is what is your motivation for addressing and attacking this lawsuit? Is it a personal vendetta against Russ? Is this to benefit the industry, or what exactly is your motivation for addressing or attacking or trying to get this lawsuit thrown out?
One is that this is a terrible law, and when people talk about trial lawyers and class action attorneys, I I bought 10%, gave, a certain amount of money, 15K, to be a 10% partner with this guy. He was a lawyer. He turned around and sued me. And then I spent a year and a half defending myself in court, suing the lawyers, winning, getting charges thrown out, and then went through a 3.5 week trial. If I would have paid somebody to defend me, that would have cost maybe $300,000. I probably shouldn't have bothered with it. I probably should have walked away, but it screwed me up. So I have got a personal vendetta against class action lawsuits on 17200, and I just so happen to be familiar with them. That's one thing. The other thing is that, when I went onto the whole shows it was going back with Bill Godchell and Kevin and stuff like that, I got attacked left and right from Dimitri, and he said, well, nobody should listen to a single word that I said. And anybody that knows or has listened to Dimitri, he's gone on and on and on about me left and right, just attacking me. And so I dig in. When somebody tells me that I've done something wrong or I don't have my facts straight, I dig in and I look at this stuff. So and the last thing I have an interest in, because I'm trying to, people are saying it's going to cost $2 million minimum to to 33 million for each SKU. I don't think that's going to be viable. I mean, nobody thinks this, but I also think the cost can be reduced. So back in October of last year, I went on Russ's show. I announced that I'm working on a project called VIA, Vapor Industry Alliance, that is trying to just work to get things past the FDA. A good example of this would be, if anybody's seen the movie, what is it? What is the one? John Belushi, the movie, What's the movie from the 70s where Animal House? If you've seen Animal House, there's one scene where everybody's rounded up, and then there's the one guy that went in there and basically gets them out of trouble with the dean. I'm kind of trying to do that. I'm trying to get all of the companies to work together to get past the FDA. So diacetyl and AP is something that it needs to be addressed, and that's why I'm researching FEMA, which is Flavor Ingredients Manufacturers Association, because they've been screwing the industry for a long time. They say that they don't want people to use e-liquids, but all their members are using their extracts and pouring them into the e-liquids left and right. But they go over to the FDA and they say, it was presented in the FDA that they wrote this little letter. So I'm pissed off at FEMA for basically telling the FDA that things are not safe to inhale, and then selling those things at the same time to people, and they know that they're doing that. I've been following this diacetyl and acetylpropanol from the beginning. The first time I started on VP Live was when Dimitri was rolling out the study. And if you can go back and listen to the old shows when I'm saying, Dimitri, why don't you release the names of the companies? He didn't want to do that. Why don't you release the names of the flavor houses that are making them? Doesn't want to do that. And the last one was, why don't you release the names of the actual flavors? And today, for the first time, we're seeing what a real study looks like, where they release all that information, although they blinded the actual companies. That information is available. So when I announced that I was going to work on trying to get this thing done, I announced it on Russ's show. The very next day, Dimitri comes out and says, that nobody should listen to me. Nobody should, So I dug in, and I dug in hard, and I researched this stuff, and I think I know a fairly decent amount. I'd be surprised if somebody knows more about diacetyl and acetylpropanol as it applies to e-liquids than me. I'd be surprised.
Yeah, let's get more questions.
Okay, with that being said, in your opinion, what impact will this lawsuit have on the vaping industry as a whole?
Well, the first thing is what happened with Cuttwood, is that you've got another set of lawyers that are copying out the exact same text, literally the exact same. I've only had it for about 2 hours. I skimmed it. I didn't even read it. But on paragraph 39 of the Cuttwood case, it uses the same language as 51 in the Five Ponds case, and that's where it says the National Institute of Occupational Safe and Health, NIOS, released a report dated August 12th, 2011, stating stating the acceptable levels of DA and AP for e-liquids is 65 and 137 respectively. So that is a fabricated thing that the first lawyers did. So the impact of this is that you got other lawyers, and it's just, this is why they call them ambulance chasers, because if there's a crash, a whole bunch of them come out of the woodwork, and it, just like exactly what James said at the beginning, he's got 20 letters from Volkswagen people, and so if 5 Ponds gives up on this, it's going to be a free-for-all for everybody, you know, all these other guys to start suing. So Russ was under the impression if they just label their bottle, everything will be absolutely fine and dandy. But if you look in the guts of the lawsuit, they're saying that that's not even enough. So the impact is already here. You've got people screaming bloody murder about 5 Ponds. You've got other people that say that they know the risk of diacetyl and acetylpropanol, and they're going to continue to vape it. One of those people is Robin from the Vaping Militia. She's a nurse. She says she's looked at the risk and she's going to vape it. Like I said, I'm doing a complete rethink of diacetyl and acetylpropanol because I've admittedly been against it. But I am well aware of what happened with saccharin, where the scientists did a test of what would happen if a person ate 10 pounds of saccharin each and every day, and they did that inside of a mouse, and then they said, look, it causes cancer.
Next question.
So, you know what, that's a good point. I do want to bring up acceptable risk too, because that's something that we deal with every day. Vaping is not 100% safe, and anybody that's still describing it like that in 2015 needs to stop doing so. But it's about your personal acceptable risk profile. So for myself, I use Swedish Snus, I use Vapor products as well, and I still vape juices that have diacetyl in them. Granted, most of them, the ones that I know have actually had test results, it's trace amounts, but it's present. But I do know that it is less than what is contained in an analog cigarette. So, you know, people were very quick to jump on board the whole train of, you know, if 5 Ponds has diacetyl in their juices, then fuck them. We don't want them on the market anymore. And, you know, I'm sure they're going to do the same thing with Cuttwood. But the reality is there are no requirements in place right now for them to disclose anything like that. And this whole situation with 5 Ponds is based on the fact that Russ obtained this, as he put it, evidence that they had conflicting responses. And what else did he claimed something else too. I mean, one of the responses that he got back from customer service, of course, that was the one where I believe she said that there was no diacetyl in the e-liquid, and that's
it's not exactly what she said, but it's been a while since I listened to it. But he called up after on the day of or the day after where they released the results, and he asked her, do these contain diacetyl? And she said, I know something. I know that some of them do. And then she went to get her list, and she gave the wrong information. And that obviously is recorded, and it is what it is. But does it make any sense for 5 Ponds to release on their website and tell everybody that they have diacetyl and acetylpropanol if they have some sort of orchestrated plan that if anybody calls up that they're going to go ahead and tell them the other way around? Does that make any sense? And when he called up as a stooge too. He said, "Oh, well, you know, when he got the information that he knew was wrong, and why on earth would any normal person be calling on that day to find out that information if they didn't have a clue?" He got what he wanted. Sometimes you're lucky and you get that. My understanding, and I was today, I only had a few minutes to read this one too, but I read the response. The lawyer sent 5 Ponds a letter, and then this is required, and then saying that we're going to sue you, and then 5 Ponds responded, and they said that they had a limited amount of people that were told, and I'm being, it's like 8 or 10 supposedly, but that people that were told in emails that they did not have it, and they said in that letter that the reason why that happened is that there was like a decision tree customer service type of thing, and that some of those things had not been cleared out. And if somebody asked this, then this is your answer, and it was old. So Five Ponds said that they had contacted all of the people where those emails went out to, and that they've offered them all sorts of goodies, free refunds, free juice, free equipment, whatever. So they've already been taken care of, the people that actually saw this. When Russ is talking about this Reddit post, that post was posted in 2015 after, I think the guy's name is Wyo or something, he said it on his show, had asked them a letter in 2014 about it, and they got that response. So anybody reading that on Reddit would already know, because this is after when Russ was talking about it, would already know that they have diacetyl. So you have to somehow show the universe of where all of this misinformation came from that the lawsuit is alleging. And right now it looks like a universe of maybe 20 people max. And so how are you going to be able to make a class action out of that? It's not going to happen. So, this lawsuit basically needs to be, rejected with authority, and have them go away. And then the best case is that they take this lawsuit and then they close it down, and that will discourage other people from trying to sue on this type of stuff. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. And so I looked up that if a set of lawyers basically goes on this type of ambulance chasing, and they go ahead and try and sue like this, malicious prosecution action permitted to proceed against plaintiff's counsel in a dismissed customer class action. So Russ was just touting about the virtues of this big giant law firm out on Madison Avenue. It's a tiny little law firm that basically goes after. They're the type of company that when Subway had 11-inch sandwiches and they were supposed to be a foot longs, they sue them. That's their gig. But so Five Ponds will have a case of action against them when this lawsuit is going to be thrown out, and they will be able to sue the lawyers. And I was saying this kind of at the beginning, is that I hope that that Sean has an agreement with the class action, that when the malicious prosecution case comes, that they will that they won't be on the hook. Now, the article that I'm trying to get for you guys right now.
Real quickly, I do want to talk about something too, though. In regards to the lawsuit, again, I don't have a problem if they can show conclusively that Five Ponds was guilty of lying, outright lying, and they prove that, I'm fine with that. But the very fact that there's language inside that lawsuit that claims it's what do they call it? What did they call it in the document? It was factual allegations. Is that
correct?
Term?
Factual allegations.
Factual
about medical
allegations, right? Where they're talking about health conditions caused by diacetyl. Right. That's the part that I have the biggest issue with.
With bronchial obliterans being mentioned as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're talking about exposure levels in a completely different scenario. So within this particular application, that shouldn't apply. And especially if they're just going after them for non-disclosure, that shouldn't really matter. But again, that precedent will be set by this case. And that's the problem that I have with it. And that's why I feel it's so damaging. And I don't know if you agree with me on that, Edward, but I mean, that's the bottom line for me.
The only person that Russ thinks that he personally was lied to. And that's because when he said that he wanted to test an e-liquid, so he called up Suicide Bunny, he called up Baker White, and he called up one other one that I forget right now. I think it might have been Vapor Shark, I'm not sure, but and then he also called up Pip, and he called up Five Ponds, and so he didn't get the answer that he wanted. So he thinks they told them that they would get him the test results, and they ended up never doing it. And so that's why he thinks he's lied to. Again, I keep on going back to show me the damn marketing materials that says that they have diacetyl free. Because when Dimitri went on air and he said there's a whole bunch of these people that are in our study that have are saying that they're diacetyl free, but they're not, and this is what the Dr. F test shows. There was no uproar there. And Dimitri and Dr. F went through every single one of those people. They called them all up and told them what their test results were. So who's being lied to? When I go to the 5-pond site, it doesn't say, and Russ agrees, it doesn't say that they don't have diacetyl and acetylpropanol in it. So, where's the lie? That's what I'm trying to figure out, and I've asked it on Facebook. Where is this lie?
Yeah. Well, I think we need to start to wrap this thing up. I know Ed has a couple questions for you too. So, Ed, why don't you go ahead?
We haven't gotten to any of the.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, one that came up and I heard you on. I think it was when it was on Russia's show. You made a little comment about AIMSA. What is your stance on AIMSA now? Because I remember you would only buy liquids from AIMSA. Has that changed?
Well, there's an episode where Lou Ritter comes onto Russ's show and talks about AIMSA, and I call him up and ask. The first time I thought I had the assumption that first of all, I think AIMSA is a great organization. I think that they've created this specification for what essentially a clean room is, and these standards for manufacturing. Those are very useful. I'm glad those exist. I know Lou is working on this new nicotine alliance or something called ERF, or Electronic Cigarette Research Foundation. Those are all very good things. But when I was first vaping, or not first vaping, but I was trying to figure this stuff out, I read the AIMSA standards, and I thought that they were testing for diacetyl and acetylpropanol. And I even said, I think back with Kevin, that I would trust those e-liquids. As it turned out, the only thing I was mistaken. The only thing that it says that they won't include, they won't add diacetyl into the e-liquid was what the standard was, but they don't test for it. The only thing they test for, and this is as it is today, the only thing they test for is nicotine, and they don't test for diacetyl and acetylpropanol. Now, if you go and look at the current standard, which I think is 2.3, they say that they are diacetyl and acetylpropanol is being reworked. And back in September, when the Suicide Bunny thing came out and all that shit hit the fan, they also updated their website, and they said they are encouraging that their members to test for diacetyl and acetylpropanol, but it's not part of the protocol to this day to test for diacetyl and acetylpropanol. It's not in there. So I like them, but at the same time, I thought that they were testing.
Okay. Yeah, I know that.
All right. What's next here, Ed?
Are there any? Go on.
Go ahead.
Are there any other things that you advocate for or that you're passionate about outside of e-cigs?
I believe that seal puppies should not be clubbed.
Okay, very good. No seal puppies. Okay, these kind of get with Russ. Do you have a relationship with Russ outside of the show? Outside of this at all? Do you ever talk to him outside of that?
Beyond Facebook? No.
Yeah. No.
Okay. No. So, I mean, I like Russ. I think he's, a very interesting character, but at the same time, I think he's an idiot when it comes to the law. And, he got taken for a ride on his whole little thing where he's going to challenge the single purpose law in New York. So some shady lawyer walked up to him and I guess the girl over there and said, yeah, we can put out this case and we can challenge the New York law. And what they did is they took about $10,000 to $20,000 and then they threw all these papers at the judge. They got resoundingly rejected. And Russ, came on after the thing lost and says, "Well, this is just the beginning. Our lawyer told us to be aware of these things." Now, you have artists in New York that will sell you a blank canvas and tell you it's art. Well, I think they've got lawyers over in New York that will sell you a bunch of papers that they're going to parade in front of the judge and tell you, "Oh yeah, well, sorry, we lost this one." So I don't think he knows what he's talking about with the law. And with this case, he doesn't know what he's doing. And I warned him before he did all this stuff that the consequences could be gigantic, and he just ignored it. So, I mean,
okay, yeah. So basically he answered it. You don't really talk with Russ outside the show. James, let me just wrap it up with slightly fun questions.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
There's a couple. Let me just go through it because
let's summarize them.
Well, okay. There, if you look at the beginning, there's a disclaimer on the Five Ponds website before you get in.
Show that.
And
okay.
The lawsuit does not mention this disclaimer anywhere, and so they're telling the court. They're saying this on their website, but they don't talk about the disclaimer. You have to look at it, you have to check it off, and then you have to click past it. So you have to read this. And so when they're saying that there was no warnings, and if you can read what that says, I'm not looking at it.
Yeah, let me take a look real quick here. It says, by clicking I agree, entering this site, or purchasing products from Five Ponds Inc., you certify and agree that you are over 18 years of age and the products purchased from Five Ponds Inc. are to be used solely by persons over the age of 18. You agree that no claims about safety, health benefits, or uses of the products were specifically stated by Five Ponds Inc. You assume all liability for proper use of the products purchased from Five Ponds Inc. Five Ponds LLC will not be held liable for any personal and or property damage, illness, injury, or financial loss caused by the use of the products or inability to use the products purchased from Five Ponds Inc. Products sold by Five Ponds Inc. have not been reviewed by the FDA and are not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure any disease. Comments/reviews posted by visitors or customers of Five Ponds Inc. or associated websites do not represent the opinion of Five Ponds Inc. or its employees or representatives. That's a lot of inks.
Yeah. So why do you think that the case doesn't mention that? Because if they were to put that in their case as what they're saying, they'll get tossed out. And I think that's what's going to happen. It's going to get tossed out.
When was that put up?
I'm pretty darn sure. I'm pretty darn sure.
That's the question in my mind.
I'm almost positive.
That's the question in chat too.
Okay, well, just go to archive.org and then look at back, the Wayback Machine, and you should be able to see if that exists or not. It won't be too hard to figure that out. But since it's there, they don't want to put that in the lawsuit because they know if it was there that it's going to get thrown out. So if it gets thrown out, then these lawyers are going to be on the hook for the malicious prosecution case that Five Ponds is going to bring against them, and hopefully punish these lawyers to the degree where nobody else is going to try it. So there's a couple other things. I'm just looking down the list. I know you guys want to go quick now. That Cuttwood is it's using the exact same language as far as DA and AP levels. They're saying that they're the highest. We already went through that. Deceptive advertising. It's using the same. They copied from the other one. And then let me just see what else I've got. There's a whole bunch of questions on who Russ is. Why does he know about the settlement? I think we touched on that. Case 5 pounds. The Cuttwood is not just talking about. It's not just talking about DA and AP. It's also talking about flavors. It's also talking about the Vapor Shark. They're talking about formaldehyde. They're talking about Prop 65. They're talking about all that stuff. So the risk now to the industry is that just a whole it's not a loser pays in California, or you can sue and then you lose and not get anything back. So I think that's. I'll keep on looking, but I think we can wind it up.
Okay. All right. Good. So, Where's the one? Oh, question from the chat, like way earlier. Are you a fan of MeUndies?
What are you eating under there?
Okay. You don't know what MeUndies is, then you're not a fan. MeUndies is a website that you can buy underwear from.
No. Sorry.
How did you know that, Ed?
Meat and potatoes.
It's funny I know that because the podcast I listened to.
The MeUndies podcast?
Oh shoot! No, not the MeUndies.
He has a wish list on WeUndies website.
I believe it's the iOS show.
How about the Shiwi? How do you feel about the Shiwi?
Shiwi?
Oh man.
Have you ever gotten your e-liquid from Kevin?
I have not looked in the mail today, but I will. I think it'll be here because Dino is on him now, and then Dino is gonna make sure that happens, I think.
And then the last question that we ask all of our guests. You can pick 3 people. They can be alive or dead. They could be fictitious. What 3 people would you want to have dinner with?
Well, we want to save baby Jesus, right? And then I don't know, Aristotle and Plato, maybe. I don't know.
8 pound 4 ounce baby Jesus.
No, it's that movie, the one with Will Smith, not Will Smith, but that Talladega Nights, where we like baby Jesus.
Ricky Bobby.
Yeah. So, I mean, definitely go back in time and kill Hitler. That's always a good one. Guy kicked my family out of Europe. Adolf Wolff, we got kicked out. 1933.
See, my answer has changed over the years because my current answer is I would want to sit down for dinner with Stanton Glantz, Hitler, and the boss from my first job because I hated him. He was a dick. And I'd also want to have chainsaw arms because, that dinner would not end well for them.
James Martin Ash versus Evil Dead dinner.
That's right.
So let me just summarize the whole thing in just a few sentences. The 5 Ponds lawsuit is a fabrication based off of lies where the lawyers have taken false information and started to sue. They lost the Enjoy class action thing, so there's a good chance that the reason why they're suing 5 Ponds is so 5 Ponds would give up, and that would then make Enjoy's case alive again, and that there's something going on with Enjoy because the lawyers were listening to Russ on Enjoy. Of course, Russ already hates Enjoy. That there's no evidence that they lied on any marketing materials, which is the chief part of the complaint. So they're making up studies. The chief part of the complaint is false. 2 of the witnesses are flaky. And there's no allegation that they ever read any marketing materials before they made their purchase. And so the reason why it's nasty is because, Cuttwood's next. And if you're an e-liquid company that cares about your business, if this thing is not beat back with authority, you could be next. So I decided at risk of great personal peril of people not liking me to come out and try and slam these lawyers as hard as possible.
Do you really
and these
care
are the
if
same
people don't
lawyers? Are these the same lawyers?
The lawyers that sued Enjoy are name for name the same lawyers that sued 5 Ponds. Wolff, and again, it's a 1F. It's not a double F. These are not my people, Wolff and Halderstein or whatever. That they sued Enjoy. They've been doing that, and then the judge kicked out their class action suit, and then lo and behold, they start to sue 5 Ponds, and Russ is coming on the air saying all they have to do is just give up and pay a little bit of money to these advocacy groups, and then it'll all go away. Well, if it all goes away for 5 Ponds, I think my best guess right now is then that re-enables and makes the argument for the judge to go back at Enjoy, which might be the bigger fish to fry.
Yeah, I'm very interested in that whole statement where he said they could settle and pay money to advocacy groups, because my understanding is that was never part of the settlement offer.
Right.
So I don't know
So-
where that came from.
So when Russ said, I mean, Ed Green knows what Russ said.
Yeah, it's exactly.
Yeah.
He said it in a way that didn't. You could figure it out. That's how he said it. He put it in a way that you could figure it out, but it was nothing exact.
He said that they would have to pay money to these groups that really need the money, and all of us vapors would be better off. Essentially, those words. And so it was really
this
clear.
on the Enjoy suit, or was this on the Five Ponds?
Five
The 5
On the
Ponds.
5 Ponds suit.
Russ was complaining that Enjoy was going to get let off the hook for too little money, and that an offer was put out to Enjoy, to Five Ponds, and then Five Ponds didn't take the offer, and that because they didn't take the offer, then Russ is going to be able to fuck them and fuck them and fuck them and fuck them. There's a pretty good clip where he explains how many times he wants to fuck
That's
them.
the most times the F word's been said on this show.
Yeah.
Especially in succession.
Yeah.
Hey.
That probably made Jeannie happy.
Yeah, freaking do.
Yeah. So.
All right. So anyway, do we have anything else? Or is that pretty much it?
I can give you my email if people want to send me emails. It's vapingindustry@gmail.com. Vaping industry, one word spelled like it should, at gmail.com.
Who would put it in 2 words? It's an email address.
You're right.
And don't send them any pictures of penises.
Yeah, send a picture of penis. So I guess my final thoughts on this, and this is towards, it's towards Ed, and you've said a lot of things in the past that have pissed me off. And you know this. You know there's a lot of things that you say that really just get under people's skin. And the reason that I was cool with me being on the show with you, is because I think that you, on this topic, you're mostly right. I think that some of the things that you do say are not exact fact.
Such as?
You don't. It's a long show.
We don't have another hour.
We don't have another hour. But there's some things that you can assume, and are probably right. And I can agree with you on this subject. I'm with you on this one.
Okay,
and I'm sure in 6 months you're gonna piss me off again. So,
all I can say is that Dimitri has slimed me left and right on his show, and just constant. And wait a second, let me finish. And he's constantly just nailed me. He announces the rant at the beginning of the show, and then he puts out a rant. The guy has said that I shouldn't be part of the industry, that nobody, and he just and all I can tell you is that with me, he did that, and you guys heard it. Now, if you don't think that's been happening to all of you behind the scenes, you guys are crazy.
Well, I have a wonderful admission to make, which is I am not in this industry at all.
That is absolutely correct.
I am a consumer. I make no money from this. I've never made any money. I've gotten more free juice than I know what to do with. Yeah. And I've ended up re-gifting most of it. But this is a wonderful thing about being a consumer. It gives you a sense of freedom. And honestly, the way I look at it is we could go out with a blaze of glory here or in infamy over at Inside Vaping, because honestly, we're not in it for the numbers either, because look at them.
Oh, that's absolutely
They're not astonishing.
I
know
cannot
this is
tell
not
you how many times this conversation has arisen in pre-show meetings going back months. And one day, I will finally take the muzzle off of my mouth, and I will say what I feel, and I'll point the finger where it belongs. Look, I will say this, and I will say this about the state of this industry now. Everything that is happening to this industry now has been directly caused by itself in one form or fashion. Either the inability to fight government, and let's face it, that's a difficult battle. So I'll give the industry that one. It's a tough one. It's a very tough
Can you repeat that again, Dane?
Oh, did you mute me?
No. Go ahead and repeat what you were going to say.
Oh no, he's gonna press the big mute button.
It's the wrong one. There you go. Oh,
I get it.
Oh, I can't hear you now.
I get it.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
You guys should simulcast on VP Live.
They won't let us. No, I shouldn't say they won't let us. They probably would. Look, we did
one concession that I will make. One concession I will make is that and you said this too, Edward. We're gonna start throwing the replays up on not SoundCloud, but something that can give people an MP3 link so they can go download it, listen to the podcast. Because I get it. This doesn't have to be in a video format. You could very easily just listen to this show if you desire to do so. But yeah, it is what it is. Edward, thank you for coming on the show. What?
They're gonna miss all this sexy right here if they listen to it. I mean, come on.
Just you, buddy. That's it.
The young guy.
The poor man Steven Dorff over there. All right, so that's it for this week. Edward Wolff, thank you very much for coming on the show. If nothing else, this should provoke some thought. And I hope that people don't take everything that they see at face value. Because, in that first clip we played from Russ's show, he's talking about Reddit and that post that was made with allegations. And it's scarily similar to what I'm seeing now. And these lawsuits are incredibly damaging to the entire industry. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that.
Yeah, and some people tell me that I should shut up and that I'm doing myself harm, and I am concerned about that. I was concerned about that really a lot before I came on the show tonight. All I can say is that if I'm going to go down by putting a foot on the ground and defending against these lawsuits, I guess that's what's happened. But
and really, Edward, there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't, because what's wrong is wrong and what's right is right here. And these lawsuits are damaging, they're malicious, they're baseless, and they're a joke. They're a nuisance lawsuit at best. That's all they were ever designed to be. They wanted to get a quick settlement. These two companies will dig in, they'll fight them, and they'll lose.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me come on.
All right.
It is absolutely our pleasure.
I really do have to poop also.
So is that you who said that? Where's your Home Depot bucket? It should be right by your chair.
I did not bring it into the room with me. I'm trying to figure out how to convert my chair for these.
Is there a chimney nearby?
Hey, it's the Colts. You can shit on it.
Oh, I think the Steelers did a pretty good job.
Did a pretty damn good job of that.
Oh man. Yeah, talk about celebration. Ed didn't have anything to celebrate, neither did I, neither did Dane, because all of our teams lost.
Jerry, Bay won, damn it.
That's Jerry a birthday concession. I prayed to the football gods, and that was the result. And I took the loss for you, buddy.
Sweet,
you may not have your genie tip yet.
Jesus, let Jerry's team win one game against mine.
That's right.
Let's carry the football talk over to the after hours so we can.
All right. I'm going to bring After Hours live, and then I'm going to exit stage left for like 3 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, right.
Yeah, do my business.
Right, we'll see everybody at the after show. Have a great week.
Have a good one.
Yeah. Thanks, Edward. Good night, everybody.
Stay sane.
Yes. I wonder if we can get the. No, we can't.
That I spent 18 days working.
I don't know. I can't find it now. We're just going to end on a blank screen.
Bag of dicks.
So anticlimactic. All right.